You already know shapes, frames, groups, text tool, and Boolean operators, and so many different parameters that you can apply to those shapes. But sometimes you need a little bit more flexibility. Sometimes you need to change inside of the shape some dots, some sides, edges, corners, or create something complex, but not using, the simple shapes, but something a little bit more flexible. This is exactly where you need a pen tool. Pen tool, you can find it in the panel here, in the top panel, second row, creation, they call it creation tools. And this set of tools consists of two tools, pen and pencil, which is when you click P, then it will be pen, and Shift P, then it will be pencil. When you need to create something like this, like a flow, previously you remember when we created that line to create a user flow, you don't need to do that using just, different lines. It will take a little bit more time. Instead, you can use a pen tool. Or sometimes when you want, let's imagine, create your own signature on the post, then you press Shift P and create it using pen tool. And it works exactly as if you had a pen inside of your, not inside, but that would be funny, but in your hand, and then you start drawing something that you need. Honestly, it's not as easy to draw something if you don't have experience with that, just using your touchpad or even mouse, but you can use tablet, then it will be much easier for you to create something. In most of the cases where you can use pen tool, when you need to create a, again, signature, or when you want to select something, not select, like highlight a particular element, and maybe then you want to create a comment for your client, or maybe you just want to highlight this specific section and send it as an image to a developer to show, take a look at this spacing. Can we have in our actual design exactly this spacing that I created in the design? This is what you can do using the pencil tool. So you understand, like when you need something like this, use pencil tool. But where do you need a pen tool? Well, when you need and want to create the lines like this, when you want to create when you're creating like a storyline, or maybe when you're creating a map where people go from London to Toronto, then this is where you can use pen tool as well. In addition to that, pen tool is used a lot when you're creating icons, and specifically like arrows or some complex style icons where you don't want to work too much with all the shapes, subtracting, adding, removing, but instead you're using a pen tool and you're creating an icon, something like this, but using, instead of the dash, we'll use solid here, and inside you press P and then you create a line. And what is really cool with Figma, that when you're creating lines and create one joint, like the dot, I put it here, then holding Shift, I move my mouse under 45 degrees to the top right corner. I click the dot here. Then, still holding Shift or without it, I can go back to the first point. I click here again, and Figma will connect that one with this, and from here I can create another dot. And Figma will also highlight me other dots that we right now we're in the exact X and Y position, not X and Y, like X or Y position as another dot for this particular shape. And this allows us to create a perfect arrow here. And this is the download icon. Then, because we know that we can union them, and boom, it's one shape. And this is the icon when we want to download something. If we want to change it, we just select the shape, press enter, select particular element inside, press enter again. We can select each particular dot inside of the shape, and then using arrows we can move them down, or using not arrows but just our the mouse itself, we can change their position, and now the icon, the download icon, looks different. That's it. This is how you work with all these shapes. Now, if you need to create something like this, for example, you press P, you start the drawing, you start your creation, then holding Shift, you move the cursor somewhere else. You click there. Let's move to another side. Click, go here, click, go behind, and then we'll finish at this point, in this position. This is how you can create this type of shapes. What's also interesting, when you're working with dots here, using pen tool, you can still, because you have corners, Figma understand, okay, if we have a corner, then probably we can round them. Corner radius, you are changing it, and this is what you can achieve using just pen tool. Another Figma Pro secret. The first shape was completely different, but now we created this shape, and also then we go to this mode and we can change even the position of some dots here using arrows to achieve a little bit different effect, something like this. Or let's move this one as well. And maybe this will be your next logo for the company again that you are working with, and that will be the starting point. Of course, it needs some adjustments. I'll show you exactly how to work with adjustments here, and then you will be able to achieve a really incredible result using just pen tool and corner radius. And most likely you won't find anything anywhere lessons like this on YouTube or in the articles. That's why I created this course, to show you how you can use simple shapes or tools like pen tool and then additional parameters to achieve completely different results that people don't expect to achieve, because they don't know how to do that. But you will know, and you will be able not only to impress all the designers around you and developers and managers, but also you will be able to achieve these results super fast. And when you have more time, you can spend it with your family, with your friends. You can design something else. You can think about, from the creation process, you can switch to UX process and think a little bit more about user experience rather than just the creation itself, because you will master the tool and it will be super fast for you to create something using Figma. You already see how much you know after all these lessons. Can you imagine what will happen in the next modules? It will be mind-blowing. Now let's go back to our map, how I created this line. Well, you press P to call the pen tool. When we press somewhere on our frame, on our canvas, then I press somewhere else. But what I'm going to do, I'm not going to release the cursor, release the touchpad. I click here and then I move the cursor somewhere else, still holding the button. If I press Shift, then I can achieve this effect. So I can go with 45 degrees, 90 degrees, and this is how I can stretch the curve itself and achieve this corner. Then I click somewhere else, still holding the button, holding shift. I stretch the handlebars, these handles here. I click somewhere else, change the direction, done. This is how I created this curved line. Then I go, you already know from the line tool how to do that. Go here, change some parameters, and then I go to advanced settings of the stroke, click dash, and here in dash I press 10, dash 10, gap 10, done. This is how I achieved this line, and this is perfect when you're, for example, creating a post on Instagram like a carousel where you are showing the timeline. When you want to show the timeline that, well, I started my design career in 2015, and then you put this line, like you will have, this will be your carousel, and then you create the timeline. And for this timeline, the left part will be this circle and the right part will be the arrow, and here it will be dash 2020. And then you will type that you started your career, let's imagine, in 2015, and then in 2017 you created your first Instagram post. And to highlight that that's a specific point in your life, let's create another circle here, exactly the same size that we had before, and let's put it on the timeline. In 2017 I created my first post, and then in 2018 I achieved my first 1,000 followers. I worked hard, and in 2023 I already have 1 million followers. I monetized my account. I started making lots of money as a content creator and using Figma to create all of my posts, all of my illustrations that I'm using on LinkedIn, Twitter, on YouTube. I create all my thumbnails and covers using Figma. So this is my journey as a designer who started working with Figma only in 2018. Before that I used Photoshop, then Sketch, and then I switched to Figma, and since then I haven't switched to anything else. It was an incredible journey, but it continues here. So this is how you create using this arrow, this is how you create this timeline for your content creation. And if you want to go like a little bit if you want to create something really interesting here as well, you remember that you can go with custom mode and you can create, let's set 2,2, done. We need to add a little bit more space here. This is how you create this line. And if you take a look, let's remove this line from here. If you take a look at the shapes in the layer itself, it's just one vector. It's just one line, one layer. But look how complex it is. Look how cool it is. When it's smaller, it's much cooler. How cool it is. And instead of the previous line, you can use a new one. And it's just one layer that has all this dot, gap, dash, a little bit bigger, gap, and then we go further. It looks more interesting rather than just dashes, the same dashes all the time. And this is exactly what you can use to create those lines using pen tool. Here I created this, kind of logo. It looks like a logo. Using the pen tool, as you can see, when I select the shape and press enter, it consists only of 3 dots. 1, 2, 3. That's it. In addition to that, I added one circle and I created another circle on the left side, but I used the subtract function from the Boolean groups. And I have the same ellipse as here. That's exactly the same ellipse. I just duplicated it. And I subtracted another shape from here to create the connection with the line. Now it looks like, you know, lizard group media incorporated. And maybe it will be in 3 words instead of 2, like this, with the same color of the shape. It just came out of my head, so it's not something that really exists, but if you take a look here, honestly, that could be an option. The only thing that I would change the color of text a little bit, I would make it a little bit darker, because when you're working with shapes, shape looks darker than when you're working with text, so that's why it's just a visual thing. I see it, most of the people won't. I personally see it because I worked a lot with colors, and I see the difference between different colors and between lines, shapes, and everything. If you are in the beginning of your career, maybe you don't see the difference. If you are really experienced designer, if you saw lots of shapes, designs, colors already, you have trained eyes, and you definitely know the difference when, oh my god, we need to add 2 more pixels here. This pixel perfection becomes your, I don't know, like, not like a problem, but still you, every single time you notice it. If you're junior, if you're just starting your design career, or if you're just content creator, you're not going to use that and go so far, so deep. Just don't think about it. It's fine. It's okay. Most people won't see that, won't notice that. Just people who work with design a lot, they will notice these small differences. And now you see that the color, while the colors are different from this shape and for the text, they look kind of the same now. But before, if I use the same color as this shape, the text is a little bit lighter because of the shape of the text itself. So here, how we created, just look at that. Super fun example. And I recommend you to create something for fun, because that's exactly where you learn super fast. Because when you have fun, for your brain, it's safe. It's something safe. It means that, oh, we're in a safe mode, so maybe it's something interesting. Yeah, let's play with that. Let's look how it looks, how it works. Oh, okay, that's awesome. And it stays in your head. You are working without stress. You don't have the stress of deadlines like, oh, I have to finish this project as fast as possible. The more you work in the tool without stress, the faster you become super efficient in this tool, the faster you master the tool, because you don't have stress, but you learn something new. And then when you are in a stressful situation, when you have deadline, you will be able to achieve results super fast, like to deliver the result super fast, because you know how to do that, how to work with the tool. You don't even think about it. You just think about the idea. Okay, what result do I need to achieve? Okay, this one. For this result, what do I need? I need 5 simple shapes. Also, I will use Boolean operators. I will subtract one shape from another one. Okay, create that one. And then in addition to that, I will use pen tool to create additional lines. Okay, it will be there, and then I'll add text, and I'll be using like swash from the advanced text settings for the typeface that I will choose. Boom, this is how your brain will go through all these like process in just half a second or even faster. When you actually practice, not just, okay, here we have video, let's watch the video, done, video watched, next video. Okay, I know about pen tool, next video, boom. Okay, what's next? Masks, I know how to work with masks, I'll skip that, and that's it. In this case, yeah, it will be probably hard for you to learn something new. But if you want to get to the next level, I recommend you to practice specifically without stress, without deadlines, just for fun. That's exactly where all the magic is happening. Just play with that. Use all the shapes and all the tools, all the lessons that we discussed before. Go and practice. And then you'll understand how to create something complex, super easy and fast. In the next lesson, we'll discuss masks, then we'll switch to auto layout, components, and variants, and after that, we'll start creating some complex elements, but we'll create them super fast because after this module, after the fundamental module, you will know everything that you need to know to become really cool in content creation, super fast in graphic design, incredible and super efficient in web design, professional in mobile apps, and later when we'll jump to game UI design, it will be for you like, what? Just, okay, it's just text, 2 shadows, and then auto layout, additional 2 corners, boom, done. The button is done. Now let's create HUD. This is like the part, like heads up display. Okay, for that we'll need just a rectangle, rounded corners, Shift X to switch to stroke, boom, 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 done, create it. This is how we work as professional UI designers with a tool, because professional UX UI designers usually spend not so much time in UI design. They spend lots of their time thinking about UX, thinking about the product itself, thinking about parameters like retention, engagement, acquisition, daily active users, about all these things. While UI is just components that you create because you mastered the tool already. You create super fast, and it's happening like on autopilot. This is what I want for you, to design on autopilot, super fast and easy, because the main process will happen in your head. You will design with your hands, and you'll be thinking about product, you'll be thinking about business, and you'll be thinking about user experience. Yes, that was about pen tool and a little bit more. See you in the next lesson. We'll be talking about masks.